Imagine this, you're under fire from every direction, bullets zip past you, grenades explode at your feet, and your closest friends, your brothers in arms, are falling one by one. You're bleeding, gasping for air, and on the brink of collapse. But even as the darkness closes in, you refuse to give up. This is the true story of one soldier's incredible battle against all odds, a story of courage, survival, and the unbreakable bond of a team. Stay with me because what happens next will leave you in awe. It was October 7, 2023, one of the darkest days in Israel's history. Itay Sagi, a 26-year-old Maglan soldier, was hiking in the Golan Heights when his phone rang. It was his commander, and the message was chilling. Itay, report to the base immediately. Confused but obedient, Itay raced home, dropped off his younger brother, and drove straight to his unit. Over the next 4 days, Itay and his team faced the unimaginable. They were deployed near Zikim, close to the Gaza border, where they were tasked with securing a position. What they didn't know was that their mission would be to protect another unit working to recover the bodies of kidnapped civilians. Their convoy of 6 vehicles moved cautiously, but as they neared their destination, mortar fire rained down on them. The chaos was overwhelming, but the team worked like clockwork until Murphy's Law struck. One of their vehicles broke down, forcing the commander to split the team. Itay and 5 others pushed forward to a fortified position just 1.5 kilometers away. At first, the area was quiet. Too quiet. Then, in an instant, all hell broke loose. 8 heavily armed terrorists emerged from the sea and opened fire. Itay watched in horror as his closest friends, his brothers, fell one by one. The bullets tore through the air, and screams echoed around him. But Itay didn't freeze. His instincts kicked in, honed through years of rigorous training. Gripping his weapon tightly, he scanned the chaos around him, his heart pounding like a drumbeat in his chest. Then he saw him, a terrorist charging directly at him, weapon raised, ready to strike. Their eyes met for a brief moment. In that split second, Itay knew it was him or the enemy. Steeling himself, he aimed his rifle, his hands steady, despite the sounds of gunfire and explosion all around him. He pulled the trigger. The shot rang out sharp and decisive, and the terrorist fell, lifeless. But there was no time to think, no time to process what had just happened. As the first enemy fell, another appeared, materializing through the smoke and chaos like a shadow of death. This one was closer, more aggressive, and more dangerous. Itay could feel the sting of his wounds as he moved. Blood trickled down his arm, but he ignored the pain. Every step forward felt like climbing a mountain, yet his determination burned brighter with every breath. He gritted his teeth and charged, adrenaline surging through his veins. The fight was brutal and close. It wasn't just about weapons now, it was raw survival. With a final burst of energy, Itay closed the distance. He struck hard, using every ounce of strength to neutralize the attacker in a swift, decisive blow. His training, his instincts, and his sheer willpower converged in that moment, saving his life and potentially the lives of his teammates. Then suddenly, a new danger emerged. Out of the corner of his eye, Itay caught sight of movement. Grenades, 2 of them, flying through the air, landing dangerously close to his position. Time seemed to slow as he realized the imminent danger. Without hesitation, Itay hurled himself to the side, throwing his body out of the blast radius. The world erupted around him as the grenades detonated with a deafening roar. The ground shook violently, and the force of the explosion slammed into him like a tidal wave. Pain surged through his body as he landed hard, his ears ringing, his vision blurred. Shrapnel tore into his flesh, and for a moment he couldn't tell if he was still alive. Blood poured from his wounds, soaking into the dirt beneath him. Disoriented and gasping for air, Itay clung to consciousness. The battlefield spun around him, the sounds of war distant and distorted. His body screamed in pain, but his mind refused to surrender. Somehow, through sheer force of will, he stayed grounded, knowing that the fight wasn't over yet. Itay's body couldn't take much more. He collapsed, his neck severely wounded and his breathing shallow. As darkness closed in, Itay's world began to fade. The chaos around him, the relentless gunfire, the shouts of his team, the deafening explosions started to feel distant, as though it were happening to someone else. His body felt heavy, as if it no longer belonged to him, and a strange stillness washed over his body. Then it happened. Itay felt himself slipping away, leaving the battlefield behind. It was as if his soul had detached, rising above the chaos. He could see everything, the carnage, the smoke, and his team, still fighting with every ounce of strength they had left. From this surreal vantage point, Itay watched his brothers in arms, moving like a single, unstoppable force. Their courage was palpable, their will to protect one another unshaken. Even as the enemy bore down on them, they were fighting not just for themselves, but for him, for their mission, and for the country they loved. But then something else caught Itay's attention. Beyond the battlefield, he saw glimpses of another world, a world that felt warm and familiar. He saw the faces of his friends, his family, and moments from his life. He saw his mother smiling, the laughter of children, and the home he dreamed of building one day. It wasn't just the past he was seeing, it was the future. His future. And in that instant, Itay knew he wasn't ready to leave. Not like this. Not now. With a surge of defiance, a voice echoed in his mind, steady and commanding. "Breathe, Itay. You have to breathe." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of everything he was fighting for. His family, his brothers, his dreams. Slowly, the darkness began to recede. He could feel his body again, battered and broken, but still alive. "Breathe," he told himself again, his voice growing stronger. "Keep breathing. They need you." 20 agonizing seconds passed, each one feeling like an eternity. Then, with a gasp that tore through the silence, Itay opened his eyes. The battlefield snapped back into focus. The sounds, the smells, the faces of his comrades. He was still there, still alive, and he knew he had to keep fighting. For 50 grueling minutes, Itay and his comrades held their ground. Amid the chaos, one of his teammates, ignoring the danger around them, pressed his hand deep into Itay's neck to stem the relentless flow of blood. Itay could feel the pain searing through him, but it was that unwavering act of bravery and sacrifice that kept him alive. His comrade's hand became his lifeline, holding back the tide of death as bullets continued to fly overhead. Itay later recalled how that moment exemplified the unbreakable bond of brotherhood in combat, when one life is worth risking everything to save another. Finally, reinforcements arrived, and Itay was evacuated by helicopter. At the hospital, as he lay surrounded by doctors debating how to save him, one voice cut through the noise. "This man is going to be fine." Itay Sagi's story is one of unimaginable courage and resilience. It reminds us of the sacrifices made by Israel's heroes, ordinary men and women who do extraordinary things to protect their country. What do you think was the most remarkable moment in this story? Was it Itay's determination to fight despite his injuries, or the way his team's bond kept them alive against all odds? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story moved you, please subscribe to Stories to Inspire and share this video with others. Your support helps us continue bringing these powerful stories to light. Don't forget to click thanks and join our channel to help us keep sharing stories of Israel's heroes. Thank you for watching, and may we all draw strength and inspiration from Itay's bravery.